Good evening to all my friends out there in cyberspace. I'm John Malashok. I want to welcome you to the first of our Streamline series. It's a 5-part series that takes place direct live from here at the Malashok Dance Studio at Liberty Station. So welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. This series, which will take place this fall, is made up of 5 different evenings, short evenings, and they all feature some new work or look into our creative process. We'll have some community conversations about the role of dance and the arts, and of course, bring you more new work. This series, I have to give a thanks and shout out to the Liberty Station Arts District and NTC Foundation for sponsoring this series. It allows us to bring the series to you for free, but of course, we'd be very, very thankful if you'd consider a donation to help us continue our important work here. I made 2 new solos in conjunction with 2 of my company dancers, Gary Champy and Lauren Christie. And that's what I want to show you tonight, is these 2 solos. We have to find our creative ways of working safely in these COVID times. Solo work seemed like a good answer to that. And we'll show these, and then I'll talk a little bit afterward. I want to hear from you. Thoughts, comments, questions. Love to field some of those after we've shown the dances. So let me go ahead and explain what these works are. These 2 solos, the first one is called On New Soil, and the second one is called On Old Ground. And since the COVID pandemic has affected all of us so profoundly over the last 6 months, I can't help but have that be part of the process of creating work. The first solo has a sense of the disruption, the change that happened back in March in all of our lives. And even though there was a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty, there was also a certain tension and energy with the finding new routines, having to do things in a very different way. It was edgy and not exciting in a good way, but with a certain amount of excitement. And that's the energy I was trying to tap into with this first solo. With the second solo, On Old Ground, I think we all experienced similarly how as the months rolled on and day after day started to feel very much the same, we fell into routines. Things that we normally do could start to feel a little like drudgery, and it really calls for a sense of how we take care of ourselves, how we renew ourselves, how we have to break out of our usual patterns and put ourselves in new scenery just to bring a new kind of interest and energy to our lives. And that's where we're going with the second solo. I'll talk a little bit more at the end afterward about how much of a village it takes to do these virtual, especially live streamed shows, but you're getting to see these new pieces for the very, very first time, and I'm happy to bring these to you. So we will go ahead and start. I'm glad you could come join us for this. We'll wait and see whether there's any thoughts, response. Is this working? Okay. I want to say a few things about this. Offer a few thanks to some people, because as I said, it really takes a village to bring a live stream together. We had some great help, first of all, from our wonderful staff who have taken on technical roles instead of their usual duties. And of course, I want to thank the dancers again, Gary Champy and Lauren Christie. A couple of shout outs for some folks. Ross Goldman was tremendously helpful in helping us get set up for this, as were our friends Kevin and Meredith at MOPA. Again, I want to thank Mark Atterbury, the composer of that music, who wrote that music for me a long time ago for a piece we did many years ago. And it was really nice to revisit them, and he was kind enough to let us use that. And of course, all the rest of our team, our donors, our board of directors, it's all a group effort here. And let's see. What else should I say
well,
here?
We have a couple questions.
Oh, we're getting some questions
from
here.
the audience. Bravo. Can you talk a little bit about how you echoed some of the choreography from the first piece, but gave it a different feel in the second piece?
We have a very observant observer there who was asking about the echoes, the reflections from one piece to the other. I created these, within 1 week of each other, and so in my mind they're very connected. And since they're related in subject, it made sense to me to draw on certain movements. And it's exciting to see how similar movements express different things and yet connect things together. So, while there were certain things like that, moving back together, some of the repetitive movements, it's what allowed them for me to feel like one piece rather than two separate pieces.
The next question is about performing without an audience. Does it feel different to be here in the studio performing with no one?
So asking about performing with no audience, yes, this is a major issue in the performing arts. I think everybody who goes to see shows live understands that there's a very direct relationship between performers and audience. They're not on opposite sides of a cavern. They're all in the space together, and they really rely on each other. So it takes a special effort to perform and be performing for a camera rather than for people. It definitely affects things, but with dancers of this quality, it's not going to diminish things. It's just odd at the end. We can't hear you out there in cyberspace applauding or saying bravo. We can only imagine it and hope that that's what's going on.
Were there any specific things that you used that you had to work or change that you usually use when you work that you had to change due to COVID?
Asking about what things had to change in terms of how we work in these COVID times. And as I said at the beginning, creating solos is not my usual thing. I like creating solos, but it's not always my first choice of how to create work. It lets me get to know the individual dancers better and is a more direct form of communicating. But to work this way and to be working, oftentimes me on one side of the studio and the dancer on the other side, to keep comfortable and safe and working in our masks. It's not easy dancing with a mask on. I didn't ask them to perform with masks because they're quite a distance away from us. But in rehearsal, we maintained that. So that, yeah, it all came into play in one fashion or another.
Next question is, do you have any intentions of developing these pieces into longer works or putting them together for its sake?
So asking whether what the intention is with these works. Are they standalone pieces or do they become part of something bigger? Honestly, I don't know the answer to that yet. I'm interested in creating a number of dance films this year. I think some of you had the opportunity to see the film Inbound that we created a month or so ago and just featured. And it's a beautifully expressive way of creating an environment that's very different than a live performance. So I will consider that for these and also for shows that we're doing later on in the spring. It probably will include solos and smaller configuration works so that we can work creatively and safely. So also, I need to look at works. You know, I was seeing it performed literally for the first time tonight, just like you were. And sometimes you have to stand back and see, how do I feel about this work? Did it get at something that I was trying to get at? So, undecided, evolving decisions there. I think there might be another question coming in here.
One more question. The audience is here. We loved it. I can relate with it, said Cecilia. And she said, I appreciate the choreography on a subject that affects us all. How different is it in terms of inspiration compared to more personal subjects? So I was talking about this being a subject matter that has affected us all. And how does approaching something like this differ from, what might normally be just a personal work or personal expression? Well, this is personal. I mean, couldn't be more personal for me. So but it becomes very much about a collaboration of experience with the dancers and how they're working. Obviously, it's different territory. It's different motivation than the normal. But that's good motivation in itself. It's just the change, the way that we have to adapt creatively. And last question for tonight: what was the biggest challenge in working with this type of technology versus live theater?
The question is, what's the biggest challenge in working with this technology? I was saying just before we started, it makes production in the theater seem sort of easy because I'm used to that, even though it's not at all easy. But just the learning curve with this, wanting to bring a high quality enough image to get the sound working, to get it all integrated. It's new territory for us, and if we didn't have some help from a lot of people, it would be tougher than it is. Hopefully we'll get better with these as we go along through this series. And again, I want to say you can go to our website, or I think Molly is putting something up online here for you to look at of the other evenings that we'll be presenting as part of the Streamline event. Again, I just want to give a shout out to the Liberty Station Arts District and the NTC Foundation for supporting us in bringing you this series. And I'll ask my crew here, anything else I need to be saying? I was so happy to be here with you. I wish I could see you. I'm glad you're getting to see us. Don't be strangers. Let me know what you think. If you have thoughts, if you have questions, comments, anything, call, email. We're here. Okay? So thank you. I will see you in a couple of weeks for the next event in our Streamline series. From the Malashok studio, good night, be safe, take care.